All right, Chloe, we're gonna drive stakes in at the center of the structure so we can run a string line down the middle, and then we'll have 3 sets of string lines that we can pull measurements on front to back. So we will start at the front, come back 8 feet, mark our 3 pier locations.
Got it.
Cool, let's go.
I'm excited to see Chloe and Sarah when they actually come get down here and see what it means to mix concrete. We've talked about it, but seeing 56 bags here and knowing that has to be mixed by hand, that's a lot of work.
That's good?
Yeah? You hold it, I'll hammer it in.
Perfect.
We are building a small cabin on our property that will serve as a meeting space for our business and a small guest house for our family. This will be a single-story structure at 480 square feet. The design is simple but includes an open living space, a small kitchen, full bath, a sleeping loft, and a screened porch. Our video series will include every step of the building process to document and detail how to build the structure. Our goal is to have a more informative and educational series for the do-it-yourselfers that want to learn to build.
It's stuck on a tree. Ooh! A little baby tree.
As a note, we did have an engineer review our plans and give us appropriate structural building specs. The Victory home is 20 feet wide by 24 feet long, with an 8-foot porch off the front. There are 12 piers, 9 for the main structure and 3 for the porch. The piers are 10 inches in diameter and rise up about 10 to 20 inches out of the ground. They are about 30 inches deep, so our piers range in total height from 40 to 50 inches. Each pier has 4 half-inch vertical rebar reinforcement. We will set 3 girder beams on top of the piers that run side to side. These will carry our floor framing. The beams will be 4 2x8, making the bottom of the floor structure about 18 to 28 inches above grade. That is enough room to get under, but we plan to eliminate the need to do that and do all our work from above. That will be covered when we start the floor framing and in our next Victory Home building video. We are working on refinements to the plans and adding additional foundation options, and these plans will soon be for sale. If you're interested, follow us on locals.com, link below, to stay updated and get notified when these plans are released.
I hate it.
All right, now I've gotten really good at this. So what else can I do?
We have a 10-inch bit for our auger, and the sonotubes are 10-inch. Hole is 10 inches, and the sonotube is 10 inches on the inside, and you got a 1/4 inch rim all the way around. That's a 10.5-inch diameter.
So we just like chipping away?
Wouldn't fit, yeah, so you can chisel away with like a digging bar and take it out with, so we don't need sonotube all the way down.
Okay.
The ground is going to form, in our situation, the ground is going to be our formwork.
Got it.
Where if we had a big...
The sonotube is just to support it out of the ground.
Correct. When we hit a rock, the auger is going to bounce this way. The hole is going to change shape depending upon terrain, or it might be a root. If we have to come in with a tractor and dig this out with a backhoe, then we're going to have a much bigger hole. Then we'll need the sonotube to go down more to form the concrete all the way up. So every hole is going to be a little different. Goal is when we actually set that sonotube in the ground, we're re-pulling our string lines, re-pulling our measurements, and we're recentering that sonotube. This is good.
Hey, sweetie, what's under this white tarp?
So I would not let her look. I had to wait till we had a camera, because I got to show her what's another white tarp. It is for you and Chloe. So
oh boy, it's like early Christmas. I'm skeptical. Oh, it's concrete.
56 bags. What do you think, Chloe?
Sounds pretty awful.
No, but I got a really good way to mix it. It's going to get used, your arms, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Good, okay. We already posted a video that showed us digging most of these holes with the auger. You can find a link to that video below. But because of the amount of rock we were hitting, we could only get down to about 20 to 24 inches for many of the holes. That day was exhausting, and we stopped so we could come back fresh and try again. But when we returned one more time to try the auger, it was no use. The auger would keep hitting a layer of rock and stop. So that left only one way to do this.
Back to the digging bars.
I do have something for you though.
A pair of work gloves.
We looked at renting a machine for doing this. It would probably be a 3-hour round trip there, a 3-hour round trip to return, and the cost a few $100s. So by the time all that's accounted for, we're better off just digging by hand. I did find a better digging bar though, so this has actually worked really well because it breaks the shell as we go down, and that has been our magic so far.
I'm enjoying this, so you can scoop out the dirt.
Well, I got myself one too.
Oh. All rock.
What I found is if you hit the edge, it'll pry
That's
out.
what I'm doing. I'm not hitting it as hard as you.
Try to use the weight of the bar.
Thanks.
All right,
Good
but
tip.
look,
The other hand,
yeah,
I
use
like
your,
this
use
end.
that end on there, on that one. It works good.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
You're doing it. It is commonly believed that frost heave is caused by the expansion of water when it freezes, something I always thought until I looked into it during this project. Research shows that the heave is not due to the water expanding as it freezes, but instead, as water freezes and forms ice pockets, they continue to be fed by water in the soils with warmer temperatures via capillary action. As the ice pockets pull in more water from their surrounding soil, they grow in size, leading to the soil above being heaved upwards. You need water, moisture-holding soils, and freezing temperatures for ice heave to occur. Some soils allow for more water movement by capillary action than others. Therefore, ice pockets may be more prone to form, resulting in a higher chance for frost heave. Water may be in the soil or pulled up from 1 to 2 meters below, so a high water table can contribute to areas being more prone to frost heave. Any excess water can also contribute to this, including storm water. Keeping the discharge from the gutters and downspouts on your home away from the foundation will help. We live in an area with a very low water table, and the soil type is not prone to holding moisture, but we still did our best to reach the 30-inch depth.
That's just a big old rock right there. I'm just exhausted watching now.
Okay,
Fuzzy mic.
you guys ready?
Yeah.
Yup.
Okay, hole is 30 inches deep, but we're coming out of the ground about 12 inches. We don't need the sonotube to go all the way down in the hole because the hole forms of concrete. What we really want is that sonotube down enough that we can position it level and it can retain the concrete. And it's going to get cut at the height. So concrete will be poured up to the top and the anchor bolt will go somewhere in the middle.
When the concrete's dry, do you take that off of it?
Yeah, if you see the one that one of them got wet, you can see it coming apart because it was on the ground. It's just cardboard. There's rebar going in each hole. We're going to mix the concrete on the tarp and pour it in. As we put the concrete in, we're going to bring it up high enough that we can put the rebar in. And we're just going to drop that down, and the concrete will give enough resistance to hold this upright. We don't want this to touch the ground, because if this touches the ground, that can rust out and rust all the way up through eventually. So we don't want to make ground contact with the rebar. So that's where we're going to wait till we have a couple bags in there and put these in. There'll be 4 of these in each hole. With the concrete, we're going to mix it on the tarp. You can mix concrete in a wheelbarrow, pour the concrete in, and use a shovel or hoe and mix it, but it's really hard on the back. You can mix it in buckets. Some people pour it in the hole and just put water in the hole and let it, You can do that, but we're not. Yeah, you don't. To do that, you have to have extra water. Extra water weakens concrete. So when you're setting like maybe a fence post, that's okay. But we're setting a house on this, and we want to achieve the proper concrete strength. And we're going to break the concrete on the tarp, put in the water. For a 60-pound bag of concrete, that's about 4 liters of water. You ready for concrete?
Yes.
Yup.
What you're going to do is, once that concrete's in there, it's going to be weighted down to the ground. Yeah. And I'm going to lift this corner, and you're going to lift that corner and that corner. And we're going to go in a circle. And what that does is slosh the concrete each time into the center. And it's a matter of maybe...
How many sloshes?
No.
30?
I don't know. It's pretty quick. And at that point, then you both can lift up and pour the concrete in the hole. So let's bring the tarp close to where we're
It'll
gonna do
just
the
slide right off.
Just slide right off. You drop the concrete on a corner like this. I'm going to try that again. You drop the concrete on the corner, typically it'll bust, and you can dump it out. Okay, now lift the corner up. I'm going to pour in the 4 liters. All right, so it's going to be a little awkward at first. And what we might have to do is make the tarp larger. All right. Okay, so let me see it real quick. So what we're going to do, because we can't come to me and roll it to me so it rolls over. Okay, now I'm going to come to you slowly.
The sides are...
It's okay. You can lose a little water. I misjudged the size of the tarp, so we're going to want to make it.
That's why I
Open it up. Okay. So, all right, that's too watery. So I usually just use a piece of poly that you cut to just the right size, but after a while they rip. So with the tarp, I figured it would last longer, but it might just not be, might not be the right size for this. I'm gonna do a little less water. So you'll get a rhythm. It's awkward at first.
Working on her muscle.
It's 10 pounds heavier than a feed bag. All right, I'm gonna drop this hopefully on its corner hard enough the first time that it busts open. Haha. So this is a gallon bucket, and we've got probably
It's a little more than halfway.
half to 2/3.
Yeah. Spread that.
All right, when we are mixing the concrete, we start out going in a circle, and then when our arms get tired, we go back and forth, and then side to side. I'll go up with my right, left,
Left, right.
left, right. And so it's getting rotated. And sometimes we get a little confused.
I think we need a little more water.
Yeah. Wanna get us some?
You'll make yourself a little useful. All right.
Yeah.
Ta-da, ta-da, easy peasy.
Kind of.
And from experience, when you do that in a nice rhythm, it goes really fast.
Can I drop this?
And so the key, the key to going back and forth would be not just her lifting her side, but you lowering yours so she doesn't have to lift so high.
Yes.
So that's where the rhythm comes in. Half the motion might be lifting, half might be lowering.
That's how I feel about you, concrete.
Right.
All right, just kidding. This is far better than digging. Oh, yeah. Life is a struggle. Got it. Nailed it.
All right, so what do you think? How'd that go?
Well, I've never done it the other way, but it wasn't too bad.
That was about 45 minutes, 18, I just counted 18 bags, and I think that would probably take about a half hour once you get going. So it's not bad. I mean, that's 2 minutes a bag at the most, and that's carrying it over, breaking it, mixing it, pouring it. And I don't think you're nearly as worn out as you would be, mixing in a wheelbarrow.
Up high, no.
You could use a concrete mixer. They're for rent. Some people do enough concrete that they might buy one. They're not that expensive depending upon how elaborate they are. But a concrete mixer, again, back to the rental equipment for us. Rental equipment's a 3-hour round trip to pick something up, a 3-hour round trip to return it, plus the rental fee.
Tarp's a lot
It's not
cheaper.
worth, it's just not worth us to rent that kind of equipment.
One more time.
Pick it back up again.
I can't pick that up. That was a little too hard. So we had to pause for a minor, cow birth. We're finishing up these last few holes, and the next step, we're pouring it in the ground up to grade, and then the next step, Jacob will come back and put in rebar, and then we're going to start cutting the sonotube and making sure they're all in place using our string guide markers things. Then we'll be doing the pour for the sonotube portion next. So let's finish.
Cool. Oh, it didn't break. There we go.
Would you say, not having done this before, that this is pretty easy?
Oh yeah. It's not as hard as I was imagining it to be.
Very manageable. All right. There you go. All right, let's just try to get it out now. Good job. That was easy.
That's a lot of walls.
All right.
Solid. Hopefully it'll take up more space.
No, not solid.
Not
Dry.
It will dry solid. Well, we're not done.
We're done for now. So we're starting our rebar cutting. Alice is gonna try first, and we're gonna cut them between 20 and 30 inches because all of our holes are about 30, 33?
30 inches.
30 inches deep. All right, Alice, go for it. Just drop down, do a squat.
And
Nope.
cut. No. It's not enough.
He's really determined.
It's not
Jump
working.
and squat.
Ready? 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 Ready?
See if I just squat down with it. Well, not
It's cutting.
my body weight doesn't do it.
Oh, that's it.
Woo!
I have to actually put oomph into it.
I saw it go like.
Trying to find an easier way to do it.
I don't like this. Here, Chloe, you got the hang of
No,
it.
you got it. You got to do it at least once. And then yank your arms down. All together. It's cutting. It's starting.
Oh,
There you go.
it's scary because you don't know how much give you're gonna have.
Oh, yeah.
Stand back, Ella.
More water or more filling?
Super stew.
Oh, it looks fantastic.
We got a stew.
Are you just walking? Is it just going down on its own?
Yeah.
I don't know where exactly these should be.
They shouldn't be touching the bottom.
I mean, like far apart from each other, but
Um,
that's probably fine.
Well,
They shouldn't
I
be
will
touching the
say,
bottom.
if they're wrong, Dad will come back and correct it.
Cool.
Okay, so the next step is to cut the sonotube and put those in place. The plan was originally that Sarah and Chloe were going to go around and pour concrete up to a few inches from the top of grade. And I was going to come behind them, put the rebar in, and then cut and position the sonotube so then they can come back and pour the concrete into the sonotube. The reason we were doing it that way was that, as we mentioned, the hole was kind of going to change depending upon when the auger went in, how precise we were. And we knew that might be off from exactly where we want the pier to be. We were interrupted because as we were going to take a break, walk up to the house, and that's when we walked across, and between here and the house is where we have the pasture. Sarah looked out and saw Juno going into labor, and so that was our last video. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It is an amazing experience. The concrete that was in the hole all dried and is set up. So that's not an issue for us because we have, the rebar was already in place. So what we do is we put the sonotube down in, that rebar is going to tie our new concrete to the old concrete. The other thing is that the surface of the old concrete is still very rough, and so when the new concrete goes in, it gives it something to grab to and bond to. And by the nature of digging the holes out and finishing them off, the top of the hole flares out. So the hole at the bottom is 10 inches, but then by digging it out with a pulse hole digger and the digging bar, right now we're at 15 inches. So that, and it's probably on all these, it flares out. Really helpful for us because what we're going to do is come back and position our sonotube just on top of that to be exactly where we want it. So the goal right now is to put the sonotube in place so we can come back and pour the concrete. We're going to do that by putting the sonotube over the hole where it's supposed to go. We have the string 4 inches higher than where we actually want the top of the pier, so I'd measure down 4 inches. So because we're using a laser level, I've set the laser level up at the height that we want, and that is right here. So I would mark our sonotube, and that's where I need to cut it. All right, so I cut that myself by using the saw and rotating the sonotube as I was cutting. If someone else is doing it with you
and you can hold the saw in place and the other person just slowly rotates the sonotube, you can get a very nice, clean, straight cut. We got the right height. We put this into place so we can plumb down to the center of where our sonotube will be. We're good. So I'm going to go around and do this on each one of the holes, and when Sarah and Chloe want to come back and finish the other half of the concrete, we'll be ready to go. Now that all the sonotubes are cut to the height approximately, we're going to first pour in a bag of concrete, and we'll put that bag of concrete in to help stabilize the bottom, which will let us position this more precisely over where we want the center of this pier to be, and it'll let us put some dirt in around the sides to lock it into place, and that will help keep it stabilized as we got to get concrete into here. This one's going to be the toughest one because we got to lift that concrete up and get it in from above, and the way we're doing this out of a tarp is very challenging, and we can shovel it off the tarp if it's
Yeah, maybe.
yeah, maybe and to get it set, because if we're knocking that pier around as we're pouring into it, that's going to be trouble. That's enough for them. So if you were doing this and that sonotube went all the way down in the hole, and this had to be positioned up from the top, you can do something like setting batter boards up and a board across that you can screw the sonotube into, or you can come back, screw a board into it back to a stake. You can find a couple ways to kind of lock that top piece in place. Oh. It's right there.
Okay.
And double check for plumb. Okay, Chloe. Well, you actually had a real job today and real work to do. We were busy and we got started on the concrete for the sonotubes. We saved the last one for you. Okay, what we forgot to do was put less water in because we wanted it a little thicker, but we're good. So what we want to do is backfill against that sonotube before we pour that in.
You almost.
1/4 inch, we need to go up.
You see the green right there, right on top of that.
Okay, we're at the right elevation, but we want to make it plumb. And we're going to do that in both directions, and that will help make the top of this flat and not look wonky. We could have done better to line it up. Oh, that's why.
It was pretty good. Don't touch the string, babe.
Don't touch the string. We need to stay straight through here. And
Wait, we gotta measure, right?
yep. Hold me on 8. This one's exactly 8. Alice, hold me on the string. That string over there.
Here, ready? Right here.
So the next step is to put in our anchor bolt, and we're running out of daylight here, and the concrete's still a little wet. And the problem is that we don't want the anchor bolt to sink down in. So the goal is to put the anchor bolt in the center of our strings here, it's the strings, and sticking up about an inch, no more than an inch. So that anchor bolt is going to hold down this post base, and then this plate will go in here. And so we don't actually want that anchor bolt sticking up high enough that it hits that plate, or we're going to have to cut it. So when you're using post-based like this, the reason you have this is that when you put a post on it, like a 6x6, and the end grain of that post sets down on here, if you set the end grain of that post on top of concrete and it gets wet, the end grain can soak up the water much more than like we're putting a 2x beam on here. So the 2x beam, which is 2x8 on edge, won't soak up the water the same. It's the post with the end grain exposed that would soak the water up. So you use the stand to bring the 6x6 up off the concrete, especially when you're building a deck and these are closer to ground and you get a lot more water. Some people put these at ground level or even a little below and the post goes down. In our situation, this isn't as critical, but that is how they're designed, so we'll still use it. And we're going quick here because we're losing daylight, and we're putting that in at 8 foot. We're done. Let's eat dinner.
Good night.
Well, we did really good. We've got all the sonotubes complete and everything worked out really well. We had one issue over here on the corner that a little unfortunate, but the sonotube went in and it was off center, and we had the rebar in, so we really couldn't shift the sonotube over more because the rebar that was coming up. So this pin is about 2 inches off center, and I'm going to see how the post base fits, and if it doesn't fit well, we'll go from there. So the next steps coming up, which will be part of the next video, is going to be we're going to be leveling out in here, doing some trenching for the plumbing, and putting the beams in, and we'll see how far we get with the actual floor framing in that video. That's it for now. Until the next episode, thank you so much for watching. And remember that on Locals, you can find some extra content that we're posting, things we're taking out of these videos, more of the instructional and how-tos, things that seem to prolong the video more than I think your average viewer may want to see. But if you're really into this for learning how to build, that content might be of value to you. So check out locals.com. We have a link below on where you can find us and how you can join and see that content. Thanks so much.